Hey, if you're wondering, how do I create work-life balance? I'll tell you what, you've come to the right place. When we can live life on our terms, on a holistic level, taking into account not just our business lives, but also our health, all of our relationships, from friends, family, partners, the world changes. Okay, so when it comes to creating work-life balance, there's a few things that we have to start with. First is going to be reframing how you think about it and how you look at it. Second, doing an assessment to define where you are today. And then third, creating a visualization of where you want to be. And then lastly, how do you create that plan? Now we're going to give you some specific tools that you can have access to, no cost, no expectations, that I've used with people all over the world. In fact, I've written a book on it, lifeon-yourterms.com. We've got full courses and stuff with it as well. All right, so to start with, you have to reframe what is your thought around success. Unfortunately, for the vast majority of us, we've abdicated, we've given away what the definition of success is. In fact, we've given away to maybe the highlight reels of social media. So everybody's thinking about those things. We compare ourselves in those ways, which is the wrong thing to do. In other cases, we've fallen prey to what the advertising industry has said. Man, if I don't have this, I'm useless. If I don't have that, I'm not worth anything. Oh, I need this to feel happy. Again, it's bunk. Now, sometimes we get it from the scarcity mindsets of our parents or peers. Not necessarily in a negative way, but it's out of fear that people are like, no, I want you to have a good, safe job. Be careful, be safe. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's good intention. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be defining what success is for you on your terms. So when we think about this, how we're creating that work-life balance, the first thing is for you to create that awareness that, hey, maybe I can look at this differently. Maybe I have the ability to change those things and do perspectives in a different way that's going to let me change how it is. Maybe success is completely different than what I've always thought, and therefore maybe work-life balance is completely different than what I ever thought it was going to be. So the first step is once we've done this and we're starting to create that awareness of what is possible, the second thing is I'm going to ask you to go to our website. It doesn't cost you anything. You can go to lifeon-yourterms.com, and about halfway down the page, there's a tool called the balance wheel. It only takes about 7 minutes to go through, but it's going to help you assess and define where you are today on a holistic level. And I've used this with hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands actually, all over the world. You go through about 7 minutes, and it's going to print out, give you this opportunity to print out, save whatever you want, but this will be your special balance wheel. And this will give you an idea of where you sit on a holistic level for defining that work-life balance. This is going to be the first step. So the 4 areas are going to be our relationships, which come up with our partner, our spouse, our friends, and our family. Second, we'll have fitness, or health, which is going to be your physical, your mental, and your spiritual. You're going to have where are we at with our resources. Resources come down to our time, talent, and treasure. Only 3 things in the world we can leverage. Treasure being our stuff and our money. And unfortunately, that's the one we focus on the most. My opinion, probably the least important. And then lastly is the work piece, which is going to be the environment, our compensation, and our job satisfaction. Probably the least important, but the one thing that we spend the most of time on. When, in my opinion, and I've seen this over and over, particularly with like the CEOs, I coach a couple public company CEOs, that when I can get them to look at the world as a whole, their life as a whole, when they find that healthy work-life balance, that work-life integration, when they're the best partner and parent and friend, when they're taking care of their physical, their mental, and their spiritual health, they actually become stronger, much stronger as a leader. Their biggest competitive advantage means that they end up having the ability to be clear in their thought and how they make very clear and intentional decisions. So once you've done this, okay, you've got the assessment, cool, great, that's a starting point. But now, a simple way for you to define it is to go through with each one of these quadrants and just figure out what are 3 to 5 things that you can do what would amazing look like in a year. If you can start to visualize where you want to be, then now when you visualize it, then it becomes possible. You have to know where you're going if you're going to get there. One of my biggest challenges and goals when I'm working with people is how do we transition from that reactive state to a proactive state? How is it we're not always just reacting, but we're choosing to where we want to go and how we want to get there? And when you can start to visualize what does amazing look like in all aspects of your life, something unique is going to happen. This is going to be on your terms, not according to anybody else, not according to anybody's social media highlight reel, not according to the advertising industry. You start to define what that balance looks like. And I think balance is a challenge, but a healthy work-life integration is 100% possible. So you go through this process, start figuring out, visualizing where you want to go, right on, great, huge step. Then when we actually start to how do you create it? Well, first step is initially with this, I would encourage you to find 2 or 3 things that you can start today to start to improve this. And they can be simple. Simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. A basic one is most people never feel they have enough time. A lot of times they feel like they're not being rested. So it could be as simple as, hey, put your phone in the other room, don't sleep with it in the same space. And when we do at Life on Your Terms, we have a course and we have tools for each one of these in these different segments, but also check out what we have on this channel. But start figuring out what are 1 or 2 things you can do. How can I sleep better? How can I go for a walk? How can I start thinking? How can I be more present with my kids or my spouse? Those simple, basic tools will actually start to build momentum in other areas, and that is where you're going to be able to start having the big balance. If you go and say, oh, I'm going to change my life today, it's going to be huge and dramatic and everything's going to be in balance tomorrow, bullshit, not going to happen. But if you can take those small steps, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, step by step by step. So start with that, and then after that, there's a whole bunch of other tools that we have available, but I would encourage you to put a lot of intentionality around it. In our 2 courses that we offer on the Life on Your Terms website, we have one that goes through and we talk about stabilizing and visualizing, learning how to dream again. What are the stories that hold us back? How can we transition to being where we want to be? How do we figure out what we want? It's one of the biggest challenges we have. And then the second is how do we create an action plan? How do we create a roadmap so that we know without any question we're going to be able to achieve those things? And that's the second video, and we actually create, and this is my personal one, but you end up with a full roadmap on how you're going to get there. And what the roadmap includes is a LCG, which we call a life-changing goal. It's kind of like a personal BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. We have a full section in here on visualization. What will amazing look like for this year? And we talk about why visualization is so important and how it works. But then we have goals for my wife and I, for my wife Rika, for me. Then we have quarterlies, we have metrics and numbers. We actually have one and dones, what needs to get done, long-term issues of parking lot, and my favorite, the bucket list. So when you start to have these things, you put that intentionality, that clarity behind it. Oh my God, it is unfathomable what you can get done. Since Rika and I have done this, we end up, we've almost tripled our income. We take 2 months off a year for adventure travel. I'm videoing from my home at 10,000 feet in Colorado. Feel like the luckiest cat on the planet. But it's done with intention. So when you think about it, if you go back, how do you create that work-life balance? Well, first you have to create that assessment. You have to be willing to change your mindset. Second, you have to say, okay, cool. How do I define where I am and where do I want to go? And then how do you build that plan? So if you found value in this, please make any comments below, subscribe to the channel, check out other videos on this channel. And if you're interested in the course, please go to lifeon-yourterms.com. Thank you. Keep smiling.